Hello, welcome to this session. In the previous session, I talked about a scripting element like a scriptlet, declaration, and expression. Now, in this session, I will talk about the directives. What is the directive? Directives are such elements in JSP which gives direction to the page compiler for generating the code. Now, as you know that every JSP is converted into the sublet. So, the page directive actually gives instruction to the page compiler that when the JSP is converted into the sublet, something gets changed, something is required, and then what that page compiler does, it actually generates the code by fulfilling that requirement. So let's see, there are three kind of directives available. One is called the page directive, another is called the include directive, and third one is taglib directive. So we will start with the page directives. Now to demonstrate everything, I have one project. I already created one project that is called the directive example, and in this project I have only one thing called the index.jsp file. That index.jsp file, I keep it very simple. It is having one message, welcome to JSP directives, nothing else, nothing important available here. So what I will do, I export this particular project, cancel, let's export it as a WAL file here, and I just want to keep it in the desktop. Finish. So now on the desktop I have this WAL file. I take it to the Apache Tomcat web apps folder. Let's paste it here. Okay, so now that WAL file is available in the Apache Tomcat web apps folder. Let's run the Apache Tomcat through the command prompt. Okay, so Tomcat is started, and as you can see, this directive is converted into, or this WAL file is actually converted into a directory. Now in that directory I have the index.jsp. Let's open it. Okay, so this is my index.jsp, the current index.jsp, right? Now let's send this request, or let's run the application, see what is the output available here. So the output is welcome to the JSP as expected. Now let's go to the Tomcat directory in the work folder, Catalina localhost. Here also you will find directive example as in folder. Now inside that you will find the code generated for the index.jsp page. So let's analyze that code. Okay, so this is the code generated on behalf of this index.jsp. Okay, now let's start analyzing the page directive first. So let me do this thing. Okay, and let us see. Okay, so this is basically the code generated for this index.jsp. Now I will start with the page directive. The page directive is actually giving some instruction to the page compiler. So how the instruction is giving? The instruction is given in form of attributes. So this page directive is having some of the attributes. One of the attribute is language, another is content type, and one is page encoding. The language attribute actually specifies that which language will be used in this page, and there is only one single option available, that is Java. No other language can be used here. Second is content type. this content type basically specify what content will be delivered by this page to the client. So here it is said that the content type of this particular page is text slash HTML. So this page will supply text, either a text or a HTML to the client. Nothing else will be supplied to the client through this page. So what is the effect of this page content? This is a simple one. So this is actually specifying the language, so it doesn't have any particular particular effect on the page compiler. But if you think this one content type, then it has a great effect. So let's change what we have here. First let's see what is the code generated for this particular instruction. So if you look at the index.jsp and if you find out underscore JSP service, you find this interesting line here called response.set content type, this one. So actually when you set the content type in page directive, the page compiler come to know, okay, this particular page will send this particular thing as a response. So that's why we need to set the content type of this response as the given in the page. So if we change it, suppose I want to change this content type as image slash JPEG. So what is the meaning of this statement? Now this particular page will send an image to the client and the category of the image is JPEG. So let's see, if you send the request, what you will get. Okay, so you are getting this particular page, but what will happen with the code generated for that page? So if you reload it, then in the JSP service method you can find response.set content type. This time it is image slash JPEG, right? So if you are specifying image slash JPEG here, that comes as an response.set content type here. So this is the instruction given to the page compiler, and that is why the page compiler has already changed this part. Okay. So let's again convert it into the actual one, that is text slash HTML, and let's again send the request and let's see what is the code generated. You can find out that the code again become the same thing. Response.content type, it is text slash HTML. Sorry. So whenever you are changing the content type here, then the content type for response is changed, and that is done by the page compiler. Next I want to discuss another attribute, that is called the session. But before going to discuss that part, let's also analyze the code generated. Now if you look very carefully in JSP service method, you will find there is a line called this. What is this? Here the page compiler is creating one of the variable called session. Initially it is null, and then later on it is set with some value, page context dot get session. Now if you say session equal to one more point, if what is the effect of this one? So in general, if we don't have anything written to written related to session, then by default the session is available on the page. That means what? This page can participate in session management, because this page has the session variable, and through that session variable it can manage the session. Now if you write session equal to false, now what do you mean by the session equal to false? The session attribute actually takes boolean parameter. It either take a true or take the false. So if you make it false, let's see what happens with the resulting code. So let me send the request. Okay, and then let us see what happens with this generated code. I want to reload it. Okay, so this is the underscore JSP service method. Now in this underscore JSP service method, you will not find the session variable. Even here also the session variable is not set. So the moral is, if you have the session equal to false, there is no session available, no session object available on the JSP service method, and that is why this particular page cannot participate in session management. That is the meaning of session equal to false. But if you make session equal to true, then you can see again, this is the generated code. Reload it, and then you will find the same session variable here again and then here, right? So the session variable is controlled by this session attribute. Okay, now another attribute which I want to discuss is import. So what is the import attribute? If you import a particular package in the JSP, then the page directives gives a direction to the page compiler that the resulting code must import the same package. So if I have the import statement here, import equal to java.util dot or java dot util dot array list. Okay, so that means the page directive is saying to the page compiler that the resulting page must import this class, array list class. So let's see what happens for this particular change. Okay, and then let's go to the code generated. You can see this imported statement comes in picture here, like arraylist dot star. So if you write any kind of import statement here, then the resulting class also must import the same package. Now let's import one more package by like this, java.io dot java.io or why not java.util.scanner. Okay, so I'm going to import two packages. One is the java.util. Two classes, util.arraylist and util.scanner. Now if you send the request, then you can see something is get changed here, and you will find there is a scanner class also imported. So that is the meaning of the import statement. Now there is one import, there is another interesting attribute available here, is called error page. Let's suppose the error page is error.jsp. Okay, Okay, so I don't require this session equal to false and this one also. Okay, so what is this error page? If this particular page will generate any kind of unchecked exception, then the system will redirect it to this error.jsp page. Okay, so let's generate a simple unchecked exception by writing a simple code k equal to 0, and if k equal to 0, then I want to throw null pointer exception. Else okay, so this is what I have written here. I have the value of k as 0. I set the value k for 0, and then I am checking whether if the k is equal to 0, then I am throwing a null pointer exception, otherwise I am printing hello world. Now what happens with the code? If this particular page is actually executed, then obviously the value of k is 0, so it will throw a new null pointer exception. And what is the null pointer exception? The null pointer exception is basically an unchecked exception. So if this exception is thrown, then the system will automatically redirect you to the error.jsp page if and only if. So I want to save it here, error.jsp, and then here I will write okay, and the message which I want to set here in the error.jsp is h1. This is an error page, and this is not this is what we need to do in the JSP page. We need to set some message for the exception, but there is one more requirement available here, that we need to set page is error page equal to true. Okay, so that means what? I'm giving hint to the page compiler that this page is the error page, and if from anywhere unchecked exception is generated, then all the unchecked exceptions all the unchecked exceptions should be handled in this error.jsp page. So let's see that effect here. So how to see? Okay, fine, let's given just a minute, I think there is any syntax problem. So k equal to this throw new null pointer is insert this to complete the expression. Oh, yes. Okay, so I need to complete it here, and then I again need to send the okay. Possibly I have the exception in this. No. Okay. Okay. Fine. So you see, the value of k here is equal to 0, and that is why it is throwing the null pointer exception, which is an unchecked exception. And when this exception is thrown, it will redirect the page to error.jsp page automatically, right? So this is what we have generated for index.jsp code. So just a minute, let me show you the code generated by this page compiler. Okay, so this is what the code generated by the page compiler, right? So this is what the error page and is error page. Session is already discussed. Fine. Okay, so this is about page. There is one also important thing, that is extends attribute. So let's see something about the extends attribute. Here is the page, and if I say extends equal to, suppose org.test class. Now what will happen about this one? So to make it successful, what will happen? Let's see what will happen here. So basically what happens, if you write this particular code here, extends this one, then the page compiler will generate the class which is going to extend whatever class you are mentioning, right? So this is the code which is generated. Why it is not running, that's a different story. But if you see the code, you find that the extend is org.test.test. If you remove this statement, and then you compile, and then if you see what is the code generated, you can see that this index.jsp is the class is actually extending HTTP base class. But if you write that code and then if you compile, okay, so you are getting some error. But if you look at the generated code, then that code is actually generating this org.test.test class. So that is what the instruction given by the page directive to the page compiler, and that is why the page compiler generating this kind of code. Okay, so this is all about page directives. Now let's talk about the include directive. So include directive, what it is doing. Okay, so let me remove all the other part which is making this program unable to run. So I'm just removing this extend part, and I don't have this part. I'm not requiring to explain the include directive. Okay, so let's send me the request. Okay, and then let me show you what is the code generated. Okay, now let's go for the include directives. So what include directive does, it is doing very simple job. Whatever file you are specifying, it include the content of that file into the current file. So let's see how it works basically. So I'm going to create one more file here. Say the file is blah blah blah, and I'm storing the file here again like show.txt. Okay, so I have a show.txt, and there the content is blah blah blah. Now what I'm doing here in this index.jsp page, I'm using this in include directive. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I just want to put it into the h2. Okay, so what will happen? What will happen? It include the content of the show.jsp file into this index.jsp file. So let's see, refresh it. Just a minute. Okay, I forget to put this one. Okay, you see this blah 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 is coming here, right? So indexed include file, include directive actually include the content of that particular file into the current current page. That is the purpose of include directives. If you look at the code generated, let's see what is the code generated for that one. It is simply like this. Okay, so whatever be the content, it is going to use it as a out.write, and then whatever the code comes out, that is the final code. Okay, so this is what the directive. We will talk about include directive when we will talk about JSTL basically, because that I will talk about the taglib directory. Taglib when we actually talk about the JSTL, because the taglibs actually useful when you actually work on the custom tags. So we will discuss that taglib later on. Okay, so that's all for this session. In the next session we will talk something more about JSP.